Hi guys, and welcome to episode 3 of Train Sim Journey Series 3, and today we're on the West Coast Main Line starting at London Euston. We're doing a semi-stopping service to Milton Keynes Central, and today we're on board a pair of Class 319s. So let's get the train set up first. So our train today is 319441 at the front, and at the rear is 319013. So we'll be calling at Watford Junction, Hemel Hempstead, Berkhamsted, Cheddington, Leighton Buzzard, Bletchley and Milton Keynes Central. Our train in London Euston. So in London Euston, even though in real life it's on the Western Railway nowadays, it's the closest to London Western Railway unrefurbished livery you can get. So I thought, well, why not? Why not use Class 319? Sadly, they are due to leave London Western Railway in real life pretty soon. So who knows where I'll go after that. Just about to pass through the first tunnel out of London Euston, which is Park Street Tunnel. So we're now into Primrose Hill Tunnel. Which will take us underneath the Metropolitan line, passing over. And then just out of the tunnel we'll pass under the Chiltern Main Line coming out of London Manor Line. Just passed underneath the Chiltern Main Line. Also, just passing to the right is the first stop for the Watford DC lines, being South Hempstead. There's also a connection to the North London line, just south of South Hempstead, which links up to Kensington Junction. Which provides a connection to Kensal Rise. And we also just passed Kilburn High Road, passing 378, one just left Kilburn High Road, the other one just approaching Kilburn High Road. So both going, one going to London Euston from Watford Junction via Watford High Street, the other one going to Watford Junction, which will call up the stations to Watford Junction by Watford High Street. Just emerging on the side our tunnel is the Bakerloo line alongside the Stabling Road depot of Queen's Park. There's Queen's Park itself. Most Bakerloo line services terminate there. Then after that the Bakerloo line goes through the shed itself. So the two outer tracks go through the shed, the two inner ones are for terminating the services. And then from there it joins up the Watford DC lines for the rest of the street. But for the Bakerloo, of course, that is up to as far as Harrow and Wildstone. There's Kensal Green, and we're about to enter another tunnel called Honeypot Tunnel. just passing Willesden TMD. That's for the London Overground stock. Also just outside to the right is Willesden Junction, low level, served by the Watford DC lines and of course the Bakerloo line. And also the bridge we're just about to pass under, that's the North London line, which serves Willesden Junction high level. So North London line services run to Stratford and originate mostly from either Richmond or Clapham Junction. So trains we call at Shepherd's Bush, Kensington Olympia, Imperial Wharf, and of course Clapham Junction. Also that line, also the West London line itself, is also served by Southern services. So in the game, it's served by services mainly from East Croydon to Milton Keynes Central. However, in real life, since the new timetable change made this year, that all Southern services have, I might be wrong on this, but if I'm wrong, just correct me in the comments below, is that they've sort of, for some reason, they've cut them back to Watford Junction, rather surprisingly. Now, the starting point for the route for Watford Junction, in real life for Southern, mostly you can start either at Clapham Junction, Selhurst, or East Croydon. Apologies about the lag, guys, just lagging a little bit. So we're just about to pass just out shot there. It's going to be the next station for the Watford DC lines at Harrowston. Also, if you guys also notice that the wires on the scene, it turns out the reason for that is because it's not because like the guys who designed the route kind of mucked it up. No, it's more to do with for some reason the game itself just can't keep up. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm not a person who does game reviews. Just so you know, it's just the way it is. Also, if you just look a little bit slightly outshot, peering to your right, that's the arch for Wembley Stadium. Just passing, about to pass, I think, Wembley Reception Yards. Also just passing over the North Circular, A4146. Just out of the right is Stonebridge Park Station, which also, just slightly beyond that, is Stonebridge Park Depot, which is one of two main depots for the Bakerloo line. Well, actually, officially, it's the main depot for the Bakerloo line. The other one is at London Road, between also Namouth North. Although London Road's depot is more of a stabling facility for Bakerloo line trains. Now, Stonebridge Park Depot has been around since April 1979, because originally, before the Jubilee line was opened on May 1st, 1979, was that the Bakerloo line actually used to go to Stanmore. There was a period of time from November 1939 to May 1979 was that the Bakerloo line train used to have two main branches. So you used to have Bakerloo line trains from Harrow, excuse me, not Harrow, what I meant to say is that it used to go to Watford Junction and also used to go to Stanmore. Yeah, so it used to go to Stanmore period of time. Just a bit too fast, and slow down a bit. Oh, well, there we go. Should be alright. So the Watford DC line just passed under, now passing through Wembley Central, which is one of 4 stations in the Wembley area. So you've got Wembley Stadium on the Shelton Main Line, Wembley Park on the Metropolitan Jubilee Line, and also Wembley Central, and also North Wembley, which is the next station we will pass in a moment. So as I was saying, it's, yeah, the Bakerloo line used to have its main depot when it used to go to Stanmore. It used to be at Euston. When it used to go to Watford Junction, its main depot was actually, of all places, Croxley Green. But then, of course, you know, 1960s hit, Bakerloo services to Watford were cut back to 4 trains a day peak hour beyond Queen's Park, just to go to Watford Junction. And then eventually that got seized in September 1982. But it wasn't until, well, June 1984 when it reinstated to Harrow Wheelstone, but only on Monday to Fridays. Saturday service got restored in 1989, but then it wasn't until the following year, 1990, when it restored the full 7-day-a-week service to Harrow Wheelstone. So that's why Harrow Wheelstone has been termed to make a line since. They were just passing through North Wembley. Now, as for Stanmore, the thing when it was pronounced that the so-called Fleet Line, which of course now known as Jubilee Line, when that was mentioned, well, eventually, the reason why they had to build it was because the Bakerloo just couldn't cope with the demands around that time in the 1970s. So it kind of, in some ways, did kind of make sense that it would be best off that another underground line was formed at the time, and the Bakerloo would solely focus on its main route from Elephant and Castle to Queen's Park, beyond to Harrow Wheelstone, Watford Junction at the time. So the problem was, they couldn't use London Road as a stable depot, by way of just passing in South Kensington, one of 2 island platforms, actually 3 on the actual route, because we've got Carpenter's Park and also Watford High Street, which we won't see in this game. So, but anyway, so what they had to do was they had to kind of find a place to build a new Bakerloo line depot at the time. So eventually they chose to site at Stonebridge Park, and that's why since 1979 that's been the main Bakerloo line depot since then. Anyway, it's just about to pass underneath both the Metropolitan Fast and Slow lines, it's approaching to Northwood Park, and also past the Chiltern Railways route from London Marylebone to Aylesbury, and then continue on via Amersham through to Aylesbury up to Aylesbury Vale Parkway. Aylesbury can also be served by services going via High Wycombe, which diverge from the Chiltern Main Line at Princess Rootsborough, just passing through Kenton. Actually, it's just in real life, Kensington. It's actually not far from Queen Park on the Metropolitan Line. I've done that bit once. That was back in November 2018. We're just about to come up to Harrow and Wheelstone. Although the name actually says Weldstone, or it's pronounced as Harrow and Wheelstone. about to pass through it right now. Here it comes. Which is also served by services by London Western Railway services to Tring, stopper, and also served by Southern services as well. Most especially in the game from Milton Keynes Central, in real life will be signed from Watford Junction. So after Harrow Baker Line trains terminates by the Buzzard siding, and now it's just a turn of the London Ground Wharf that DC Line is now to call at all stations to Watford Junction. Now in the game itself, it's you might wondering, well, hang on a minute, it's 378. Yeah, because they haven't developed the pack for the 710s, which I don't think we're going to be seeing that anytime soon. But in real life, nowadays, most Watford DC Line routes are now done by 710s. But of course, the 710s are also featured on the Big Valley lines, such as Cheshunt, Enfield Town, Chingford, as well as also, they're also featured on the Goblin line, or Gosborough to Barking line, which is from Gosborough, well, was to Barking until just a few days ago, this Monday, July 18th, when Barking Riverside was opened. So about passing now, it's passing through Headstone Lane. Stop at Hatch End. Just passing Carpenter's Park. And soon we're going to pass through Bushing. Now, there was a story. If anyone's ever been to Edgware Station on the Northern Line, you know you've got 3 platforms there. Well, here's a bit of fact. The 2 platforms that underneath the station accommodation shed actually has a kind of a tunnel mouth at the end of the platforms, but it was never used. So the story was, under the Underground New Works programme of 1935, they originally were going to extend the Northern Line to Bushy Heath, with 2 intermediate stations at Brockley Heath and South Elstree, and there was going to be a depot at Alden. But unfortunately, when the Second World War broke out in September 1939, all works ground to a halt. Now, there were plans that were going to resume the works after the war, but unfortunately, because the tube suffered so much damage during the conflict, it was decided it was not possible. But the actual reason, one of the actual reasons that actually kind of forced the abandonment of the extension, leaving Northern Line services on the Edgware branch to terminate at Edgware, was because of the Metropolitan Greenbelt Legislation Act, which was introduced in 1948, which made it restricted housing development in the area. Here we are at Bushy, served by services to Tring as well. Also the Watford DC lines, they diverge to the left, heading towards Watford High Street, which actually has a connection originally to the former Croxley Green branch, and as well as the Croxley Green depot. The depot itself closed on September the 2nd, 1985, so that's where the Q line trains, when it used to go to Watford Junction, as well as also used to be Sam Dorset at the time, back in up until the 1980s, before we had the Class 313s, actually 507s, 508s on the route, on here as well, was that they used to go to Watford Junction and then would go empty stop to Croxley Green. Sometimes they'll come out of Croxley Green on a single line branch, which has a single line connection to Watford DC lines before Watford High Street, and then head from there to Watford Junction before starting the first service of the day, whether it's to London Euston or, of course, when the Bakerloo line was running at the time, to Elephant and Castle. So anyway, so not far from our first stop at Watford Junction. So I'll slow right down now. Watford DC lines merging back from the left. Also to the right, there's the other platform, which is the platform for the, not just for terminating services, but also is used by services to St Albans Abbey. So here are Watford Junction, which is also served by Avanti West Coast services. Not all of them, but some Avanti West Coast services throughout the day. Some in the morning, some in the evening. Mostly, whether it's on the up platforms for platform 6 is for pick-up passengers, and the platform 7 is for the use for set-down only. So our next stop for us is going to be Hemel Hempstead, which will also pass through Keynes Landley and Apsley on the way. So between here and Train is where all services to Train will now call at all stations. Sometimes in the evening you get some Milton Keynes services stopping extra at Keynes Landley and Train, although most services run non-stop to near and Harrow and Hempstead. As well as also passes in through Tring. This is where the fast and slow lines diverge to go through the Watford tunnels. Our route's the Watford Stowe Tunnel. So back alongside the fast lines, so back to the 4-track formation, which will run mostly to as far as Berkhamsted. Now, here's a quick question, guys. Can you guys tell me what motorway does the West Coast Main Line pass under after Watford Junction? Should be an easy question. So for those who live in from the London Essex area, you probably would Hertfordshire area, Surrey, Sussex, Kent. You probably will know the answer. For those who probably not quite, well, just have a guess. So we're about to pass underneath the motorway, and we're also passing through King's Landing. Did you guys get the answer? Well, the answer to the question is, well, it's very obvious. It's the M25. Yep, M25, that's right. But the line passes under just before King's Landing. Just about to pass through Apsley. But start slowing down for our next stop, which would be Hemel Hempstead. So here we are at Hemel Hempstead. So our next stop for our service would be Berkhamsted. There was actually one time between Hemel Hempstead and Absley, there used to be a branch line called the Nickley line. Very unusual name. Now, the line itself was actually known to be the Harpenden to Hemel Hempstead railway. By the way, Harpenden is on the main line, served by Thames Inc. And so it opened in 1877, but closed in 1959. start slowing down to our next stop at Berkhamsted. I have to say, with the Class 319 pack from Holstrom Powerhouse, it does take a bit of a while to kind of learn it, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it's actually, it is a bit easy to drive once you kind of know how the basics work. Now, one thing a little different with the London Midland livery I'm driving compared to, say, the one I did with the Midland Main Line is that the fact is you have to put in a number which is over here, which is my mouse is pointing, so to enter the route number for the destination you're going to. Now, unlike the 319 when I did the London Midland Main Line, I actually had to use like this little mechanical winding blinder. so I don't know what to call it, but to kind of get the destination for Bedford up. To be honest, I do miss that sort of stuff. I mean, I do. I know the numbers. I know entering destination on modern trains on paper sounds easy, but actually you just kind of feel what it must have been like where I had to have to open where the cupboard for the blinds, find for the trains, and you have to wind them to set them to your destination you're going to. Well, if anybody's actually driven 319 on a train sim, then let me know your thoughts about that. So anyway, here we are at just about to. There we go. So we are at Berkhamsted. So the next stop will be Cheddington, because the station we pass through next, even though it's actually Tring. So we pass through Train, which we use for terminating stoppers from London Euston, and then from then on it'll be the turn of all services, like from Milton Keynes to Milton Keynes, now called intermediate stations, all the way to Milton Keynes Central. Just coming up to the North Church Tunnel. Just about to come up to Tring. So at Train you've got 5 platforms, because this platform, the platform we pass through is our platform, goes through the centre platform on the slow lines is for terminating services, while the outer platform is used by services from Milton Keynes Central. Well, actually, not mostly during the day though. It's mostly between trains, one non-stop, apart from some morning evening ones. So we have just arrived into Cheddington. So here we are at Cheddington. So in the game itself, the platform is easy access to the fast platform. In real life though, there is some fencing a bit involved, which is quite annoying. Whether that's going to become part of a long-term thing with the fast platform being fenced off, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I hope that's not the case, which would be a real shame. So, but Cheddington, the fact is, they actually used to have another railway. It used to go to Aylesbury High Street. So it opened in 1839, closed to passengers in 1953, before closing for good in 1963. By the way, just one thing I mentioned there. I do apologise for that little slight error I made early in the journey for Wembley Central not obeying that speed restriction, which should have reduced my speed down a bit earlier. That was my fault on that one. So I did take responsibility for that. So anyway, let's continue. So the thing is that between here and our next stop at Leighton Buzzard. Excuse me. So there's a bit of a history about this route. Is that along here we pass over a very particular bridge. Now it's not just any ordinary bridge, no, because in fact the bridge in question is also known as Bridegate Bridge, which actually is the site of the so-called the Great Train Robbery on August 8th, 1963. So what happened, I'm not going to go into full detail of the story, I expect, is that a Royal Mail train just after 3 AM in the morning gets stopped by a group of men, and they steal that night over £2.6 million worth of items. Now I'm not going to say what they are because, like I said, I'm not going to go into the full details. Now 2.6 million back at the time in 1963, which is very expensive, right? So here's a question. What do you think would that 2.6 million would be equal to in the currency of 2021 or 2022? Well, I could just give you a quick straight answer. Here it is, and believe it or not, you would range between 58 to 60 million. Yes, 58 to 60 million in today's money at the time. Stolen at the time. Which remains even today one of the biggest robberies ever carried out on any rail system. Actually, in fact, at Rydeco Bridge today, there was actually a plate on the bridge itself marking the very point where the Great Train Robbery of 1963 took place. Anyway, so we're just about to not far out from our next stop, which will be Leighton Buzzard. So we are at Leighton Buzzard. Just 2 stops to go after this. Next stop will be Bletchley. About to approach Lynn Slate Tunnel. So look at the overhead shot. Can someone tell me what that motorway is alongside the West Coast Main Line? Take a guess. I'll give you a bit of a hint. It actually runs from the A406 at Brent Cross area to all the way up to the A1 just outside Leeds, which also at Milton Keynes. Well, actually near Milton Keynes. Well, actually a little bit further on actually. Interchanges with the M6. Just about to make the approach into Bletchley. Just before Bletchley, we pass underneath the Bletchley flyover. Now, in the game itself, the model is actually from the 1960s, but that's not what it is in real life anymore. Because that structure, the 1960s structure, that's mostly the bit over the main line that's now kind of more for a fly under for the trains to pass through underneath the West Coast Main Line, and then the line goes over that. So kind of a little concrete box, sort of kind of viaduct, and now passes over. That's been rebuilt for the East-West Rail, although there are some doubts about that have emerged in the last few weeks about whether they may never go to Cambridge from Bedford. Who knows? So anyway, we're just arriving into Bletchley. Also, just to point out on the Varsity line, that's just where the bridge ends. That's where there's going to be the new Bletchley high-level platforms. So the plan to use when that opens, where it eventually does start, is that they'll plan to use services from places like Oxford, maybe Aylesbury, run over to Milton Keynes Central, and also to connect up with another line that terminates here at Bletchley present, which is the Marston Vale line. So we are Bletchley. So services for the Marston Vale line terminate on 5 platform 6, which in real life nowadays is served by Class 230s, former ex D78 stock, fitted now with diesel power. The other example is used on the Ireland line, which is a Class 484, which now runs at the 750 volt DC third rail. They're testing it at the time of this recording on Transport for Wales, which is using North Wales. And there's even rumour going around that Great Western Railway might be interested of buying some Class 230s for the Greenford branch. Whether that happens though remains unknown. So anyway, we're heading off to our final stop, which is where we will terminate today at Milton Keynes Central. Now normally, Milton Keynes services mostly would terminate via platform 2, but today we're terminating via platform 1. So Milton Keynes Central opened in May 1982. The additions, most recent additions, were platforms 2 and 6, which opened in 2008. So guys, so on the final approach into Milton Keynes Central itself. I have to say probably wasn't my best performance-wise when it comes to this. Probably could do better next time, speeding them as on some sections. So there we are. Anyway guys, that will do it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share this video. I'll do the best I can to put out more content as soon as possible. So until my very next video, whether that be, whether it's another train sim journey, train spotting, or perhaps my Q&A I've got coming up soon, I'll let you guys know very soon. So until then, my next video guys, see you in the next one. Bye guys.